Chapter 2, Medical Education Research in India, The Journey Through the Years. Anshu Avinash Soup. Abstract. Medical education has taken center stage in India over the last 2 decades. While the initial years of faculty development were spent in strengthening different facets of instructional design, assessment, and curricular development, it is time for medical educationists to shift the focus to the next level, i.e., to educational research and scholarship. At the moment, the kind of educational research being conducted by faculty in the health professions is basic, piecemeal, and not very robust. A cursory review of publications from this country will reveal that a number of measures will need to be taken to encourage the quality of research, which then eventually can create an impact on the educational environment. Concerted efforts need to be taken to encourage credible research. Some of these measures are training, mentoring, supervision, support, provision of educational grants, incentives, rewards, etc. Large-scale collaborative research needs to be encouraged. Ultimately, research should inform and impact practice and policy. Key words: medical education, educational research, India, health professions, education, scholarship. Assess need. In the last 2 decades, medical education has taken remarkable strides in the educational framework of India. From an unknown specialty, it has gradually become a standalone discipline. Further, with the recent coronavirus pandemic and the shift to competency-based medical education, the quality of medical education has come into the spotlight. Given that India produces the world's highest number of medical graduates from a country, it is only logical that faculty development and quality of training were uppermost on our minds. While there has been considerable thrust on training faculty in curriculum design, instructional methods, and assessment in the last 2 decades, an important arm of faculty development, educational research is still relatively in its stage of infancy in India. This chapter looks at the medical education research scenario in India and explores how it has evolved over the last few decades. It then goes on to analyze the strengths, areas of concerns and challenges, and then outlines the way forward. Brief. In India, it is now time for medical educationists to shift the focus to educational research. Presently, the educational research studies conducted in this country are rather basic and lack methodological rigor. There is need to encourage credible and robust research through several supportive measures such as training, mentoring, and provision of incentives. There is need to choose areas of research which are relevant to the educational context of the country. Educational research must eventually inform educational practice and alter policy. CO and 3XTUA rise in E. One might question the need for health professions faculty to get into educational research. Before you read further, pause and reflect on these questions. Think, make notes and jot down your thoughts. If teachers are able to communicate well, deliver instruction to their students, and assess them, is there any need to venture into the area of research? Health professions faculty are already overworked handling the dual arms of providing clinical service and teaching. Is it worth expending extra energy and effort into research? Is it easier to conduct educational research compared to biomedical research? Are their methods different? Does publishing a paper based on educational research help in promotion or placement? Is it even counted as actual research by universities? Can research conducted at the workplace actually create an impact elsewhere? How can research improve one's practice or alter policy in our workplaces? Describe. India has the world's largest number of medical schools and we produce the highest number of medical graduates each year. Training such large numbers of medical students demands committed, enthusiastic, and well-trained faculty. In the recent years, there has been a renewed interest in using formal and informal approaches to faculty development. Most of these are through mandatory courses in basic medical education technology conducted by the national regulatory bodies, such as the erstwhile Medical Council of India and the present National Medical Commission. Besides these, advanced courses in medical education, degree, diploma courses in health professions education run by universities, and several fellowship programs in educational leadership are available for capacity building of health professions faculty in India. While the first phase of medical education interventions included training the faculty in educational methods and assessment techniques, the last decade has seen lots of activity in curriculum design and development. Now that we have seen satisfactory capacity building in the former areas, in the third phase, it is now time to strengthen the foundation of educational research. Medical teachers expend a lot of their time and energy in instructional design, assessment, and curricular development. These experiences can be converted into scholarship. In his seminal paper, Boyer describes the scholarship of discovery, application, integration, and teaching. Elsewhere in this book, you can find details of these concepts. However, the basic premise behind these concepts is to find avenues where one's daily work is carefully assembled, analyzed, and studied in a systematic way, so as to derive conclusions that can be extrapolated to the larger scheme of things. Health professions teachers need to be trained in converting their activities into scholarly work. The activity scholarship double helix model illustrates the process of converting routine educational activities into scholarship. By sharing their carefully designed resources, their expertise, and their experiences in a scientific manner, it is possible to feed into the cycle of continuous quality improvement and alter the educational environment and ecology. The journey of educational research in India. Let us have a look at how educational research has progressed through the years in India. National Teachers Training Course. One of the earliest forays which encouraged faculty to take up educational projects came from the National Teachers Training Center at Pondicherry. Participants enrolled into a fortnight-long course. Towards the end of the course, they were encouraged to propose a short project that they would undertake with their parent institution. While many participants did conduct these studies, there was no rigorous follow-up to ensure their completion or to measure their impact. Some participants went on to publish their studies in the NTTC bulletin published from this center. With time, this process has got better. The NTTC Alumni Association JIPMER has published an e-book on effective educational practices in health profession education. The collection features 42 projects from 2006 to 2013 on a wide range of topics. Some of these are on innovative topics such as cadaver ceremonies, 3D models to enhance clinical skills, gamification in pharmacology, and flipped classes in histology. FAIMER regional institutes. A huge impetus to educational research came after the year 2005 when the Foundation for Advancement of International Medical Education and Research USA started its educational regional fellowship programs at 3 sites. Chem Hospital and SES Medical College. Mumbai Christian Medical College, Ludhiana, PSG Institute of Medical Sciences, Coimbatore, followed by another institute in 2015, the MAR FAIMER International Institute for Leadership in Interprofessional Education, Manipal. Fellows wishing to apply to these programs had to submit an educational project as part of their application. Through the fellowship program, fellows were first mentored on site and taken through a process of refining their projects using the theory of change. This was followed by a year-long online follow-up process where fellows were encouraged to explore educational resources and provided support and supervision. Fellows chose projects to be conducted at their parent institutions in a variety of subjects such as curriculum design, teaching learning methods, assessment, faculty development, community-based medical education, humanities, etc. The pie diagram below shows a broad categorization of educational research projects undertaken by fellows of these programs. Data were obtained from the following years: GSM CFA IMER, 1050 FA IMER, PSG FA IMER, and MAR FA IMER. Courtesy directors of regional FA IMER institutes in India who shared this data. What definitely worked in improving the quality of projects was the inherent process of the fellowship program, which encouraged fellows to explore and read educational literature. Structured online discussions helped to clarify issues and improve the robustness of study designs and study instruments. Peer and faculty feedback were provided as fellows worked in groups. Sharing of resources and ideas as well as brainstorming sessions helped in refining the quality of the projects. Throughout the year, fellows were required to submit phase-wise project progress reports online. This process culminated in the interactive presentation of a poster at the end of the fellowship before two batches of fellows and all faculty. In the second year of the project, fellows were mentored to write for publication. A large number of projects went on to be published in local, national, and international journals. With time, the process has become more robust and the quality of projects has improved. Since the fellowship program deals with elements of educational leadership, themes such as managing and implementing change are part of the curriculum. The focus of these projects has now been molded with more emphasis on sustainability of change in the institutions and beyond once the initial project has been done. The design and the evaluation processes of these projects have been structured in an attempt to make a long-term impact beyond individual classrooms, either by their inclusion as departmental or institutional programs or as university policy. Advanced course in medical education. A combination of these processes was followed by the Medical Council of India in its advanced course in medical education, which was a year-long course with on-site and online components. These courses were run by 10 nodal centers across the country. Participants in these workshops were encouraged to present a study proposal towards the end of the first part of the workshop, submit progress reports, and present posters at the end of the second part of the workshop after a year. Almost 18 of faculty members who were participants completed their educational research projects under this program and were awarded certification for the same. There will be useful to conduct a formal evaluation of all these projects to determine their sustainability and overall impact in the educational landscape of this country. National Conferences in Health Professions Education. Since 2007, a series of national conferences in health professions education have been held across the country. These conferences have provided a platform for faculty to showcase their work. Slowly through the years, the number and quality of abstracts and posters presented at these conferences has risen impressively. From small projects conducted in individual classrooms being presented in the early conferences, projects presented now show better study design and more frequent interdisciplinary collaboration. Since the faculty who attend these workshops come from all health professions, specialties, and across disciplines, this has encouraged collaboration between disciplines to some level. The overall interest in educational research has been encouraging, and the snowball effect resulted in many peers taking up similar projects. Current trends in publication of educational research. Initially, not many journals in India accepted educational studies for publication, but now it is heartening to know that almost every specialty has its own medical education section, and the number of avenues for publication have increased. Concerted efforts through sessions on scholarship have helped faculty researchers become more aware of where they can find a suitable audience for their work. We explored the publications in educational research across the decades. Fig 2 depicts the Powered Index publications from India in the area of medical education from 1941 to 2020. There has been a substantial increase in the number of health professions faculty taking up educational research projects. Donder and Desma carried out a systemic analysis of original papers in medical education published from India over a 10-year period. Most studies were evaluations of undergraduate students. There was limited research on other target groups and stakeholders such as postgraduate students, interns, or faculty. They found that of the 71 articles that were retrieved by them, 64.7% were evaluations of innovations at Kirkpatrick's level 1. The remaining 35.3% were surveys or research articles. Of them, 74.6% used quantitative methods, 18.3% used mixed methods, and only 7% used qualitative methods. Almost 90% studies were conducted at a single site. Almost 23 articles acknowledged support from FAIMER, which is indicative of their impact on training faculty in educational research. Only 8.5% of the studies had received any form of financial support. Most studies only used Kirkpatrick's level 1 to evaluate learner satisfaction. The authors felt that the higher levels of Kirkpatrick's model will need to be explored to determine change in organizational practices and the consequent effect on patient outcomes. Predictive studies which can assess the validity of our student selection processes were also recommended. Recognition of educational research by regulatory bodies in India. In 2009, the Medical Council of India released the teacher eligibility criteria for promotion of medical teachers to different levels, and one of the requirements was the number of research publications. It mandated that only research papers published in journals of national associations and societies of the concerned subject or specialty would count for this purpose. It was only in 2016 that the academic cell of the Medical Council of India released a clarification saying that publications in the field of medical education technology in indexed or national journal will be considered as valid and on par with publications in the concerned subject, specialty for placements and promotions. This was a step in the positive direction where educational research embedded within the specialty was given due recognition. However, this statement was further amended in a general body meeting the next year, where it was stated that not more than one research publication in the field of medical educational technology in indexed or national journals shall be considered towards eligibility for promotion. While it is logical that subject-specific biomedical research is expected from faculty in their core disciplines, we feel that minimum number of publications in the core discipline could have been defined rather than putting a cap on the number of medical education publications. Concerns about educational research in India. The ultimate outcome of any kind of educational research is that it must inform practice and advance the quality of education. It is here that many of our research projects falter. Several projects are weakly designed, lack methodological rigor, and are often done with the purpose of adding another publication to a CV rather than with the aims of either creating new knowledge or bringing about actual change in the workplace. Educational research has the added issue of being conducted in a complex ecosystem where controlled conditions are not possible. Unlike biomedical research, stringent measurements for outcomes such as learning or performance cannot be made. Since most new entrants to this area are unfamiliar with these intricacies, studies are often found to have glaring deficiencies in study design. Poor study design cannot lead to practically useful research. Like any other research, the process of inquiry must be systematic and scientifically done. The robustness of study design and the planning that goes into conceptualizing a study cannot be undermined. In India, often researchers are seen to pay emphasis on gathering data and analyzing it. However, the key step, which is the use of a theoretical framework, which is key to educational research, is often forgotten. Projects which have been published are often simplistic and are usually conducted on one class of students. There is hardly any vision for follow-up, and collaborative projects across institutions are not common. Projects with more meaningful outcomes which impact either practice or policy need to be promoted. We are in a stage of curricular upheaval where a new curricular model has been introduced. It is time to conduct regular research, monitoring, and evaluation into how this change is impacting medical education. Results of these initiatives need to be fed into the curricular cycle to begin a rigorous cycle of quality improvement. Similarly, the impact of our selection processes should be evaluated based on the performance of our graduates in actual practice. The way ahead, it is heartening to see the increasing number of health professions faculty in India showing an interest in pursuing research in education. Even though it appears to be propelled by promotion requirements defined by the regulatory bodies, hopefully it will eventually find serious takers who will pursue quality research. One must remember that medical education research in India is in its stage of infancy. Fig 3 depicts some of the approaches that will encourage a cadre of faculty to take up educational research. These are explained below in detail. Figure 3 approaches to promote a culture of credible research. Training in educational research. Focused training workshops need to be initiated to train interested faculty in educational research. These can be conducted in a collaborative manner by the medical education units and the research units of institutes, depending on the available expertise. Educational researchers must be familiar with classic standards for research. Getting participants to critically appraise existing literature can be a good way to familiarize them with the stepwise approach to designing, planning, and implementing a research study. While most are trained in biomedical research, qualitative approaches which are essential in social science research are not as familiar to the medical fraternity. These methods are useful in probing deeper and understanding the nuances in learning. Use of robust study design and approaches need to be advocated. The use of mixed methods in educational research should be encouraged. It must be added that faculty members must be made aware of the need for ethics committee approvals and permissions before conduct of any educational research. In any kind of interventional study involving students or teacher, a formal approval from the institutional ethics committee is mandatory. This permission is also a requirement for document surveys and secondary data analysis. The 2017 guidelines of the Indian Council of Medical Research offer exemption for review for some routine educational activities such as comparison of instructional techniques, curricular or classroom management methods which have less than minimal risk and where there are no linked identifiers. Mentoring and support. Most teachers want to undertake research and need support in conducting research as a part of their routine activities rather than an add-on activity. The potential of research mentoring still lies untapped. There is need to develop a systematic process of hand-holding and mentoring as faculty initially delve into the process of doing educational research. This will need a group of experts trained in research methods who can volunteer their time for mentoring. Since the number of such experts are few compared to the number needed, there needs to be interinstitutional collaboration for this purpose. Merely organizing seminars or short-term coaching is unlikely to suffice. Research mentoring is a slow process and needs long-term commitment. It is a two-way synergistic learning process which benefits both the mentor and mentee. Protected time for the faculty researcher. Teaching faculty in health professions education already wear multiple hats. They provide clinical service, are full-time teachers and handle administrative roles. A new cadre of faculty researchers needs to be established and given protected time to pursue research and compete for funding. These researchers must be given protection from clinical, teaching, and administrative duties and allowed to spend dedicated time pursuing research, at least in the early years. Thereafter, these researchers can be externally funded. These researchers need time to read literature, confer with colleagues, perform research, write grant applications, and manage regulatory requirements. This cadre can eventually serve as research mentors to other faculty. Educational grants, large-scale projects which will make an actual impact to educational practice and policy require funding and manpower. These must be initiated at the government level in a competitive format so as to encourage quality educational projects which make an impact on the educational scene. Incentives and rewards. Faculty who make inroads into research need to be encouraged with incentives and rewards just as any subject-specific clinical research would be. Educational research must be treated as par for purposes of tenure or promotion. It would be nice if there are journals dedicated to publishing quality educational research across the different disciplines in the Indian context. Collaboration across institutes. Studies done on a single batch of students with no follow-up usually have no meaning. To make an impact, there have to be large-scale, systematic, well-designed studies from which one can derive proper conclusions and change practice or policy. Collaborations across institutions or studies done within a university can give more insight into how educational practice needs to be altered for better outcomes. Usually, a team of like-minded individuals with different strengths can collaborate across institutions and build up a body of work. Conclusion. The educational ecosystem needs to encourage health professional researchers to take up research. This process of nurturing a cadre of teacher researchers is slow but rewarding. Overall, the way forward is to promote medical education research studies which have the potential to alter practice and policy. These will include studying the impact of different curricular models, teaching and assessment practices, faculty development initiatives, and selection processes on actual performance in practice. Findings of research need to be fed into the educational system so as to prepare a cycle of quality improvement. Summarize. Currently, faculty in India have just about begun to get their feet into educational research. It is important to complement their enthusiasm with concrete plans such as training, mentoring, support, and supervision in this journey. Collaborations across institutions or within the ambit of universities can help conduct large-scale studies from which meaningful conclusions can be drawn. The overall purpose is to encourage credible research which can impact practice and policy at the national level. Evaluate. Now that you know the value of educational research, we suggest you go online and look up some educational research papers from India. Critique them using some of the criteria that were mentioned in this chapter. First, is the topic of educational research relevant to our context? Next, is the study design robust? Are the conclusions correctly drawn? Will the study results be of use in actual practice? Once you have evaluated 3-5 papers, consider the problems that are relevant to your own educational context. Which topics will be worth exploring further? Which area would you like to work in? We hope you feel suitably charged enough to start thinking about the possibilities of delving into the world of educational research. Road ahead, the reader is directed to the following articles, which provide a guideline on how to critically appraise medical education literature. This exercise will be useful in understanding the concept of rigor in research. Both S. Sharma, S. Goldman, J. and Reeves, S. Medical Education Research, an Overview of Methods. Canadian J. Anesthesia, 59, 159-170. Creswell J. W. Educational Research, Planning, Conducting, and Evaluating Quantitative and Qualitative Research. Delhi, Phi Learning Private Limited, 2014.